Okay, so I want to address again, as I'm still continuing to read this book, the reason for God, belief in the age of skepticism. It is, the more that I read it, because I'm not done yet, I'm almost done. I'm realizing that it's actually a 2-part book. So the first part of the book is talking about the skepticism, like I said before, and Timothy Keller is presenting, what people say, and then how it doesn't really add up, basically. And then the second half is talking about like why we should even believe in Christianity, why we should believe in God. And I mean, it's giving the definition of sin that, I mean, I know that sounds so basic that you think, oh yeah, sin is just doing bad stuff or doing stuff that God said not to do. It's so much more than that. And truly finding your identity in God, and why it's so important to have an identity in God and not an identity in other things like your job and being a mother and things like that. And actually like how those are sins actually. And so it's just astounding reading it. And it was really like a eye-opener for me as I continue to read it, and just really just showing more and more of why, loving God and having a relationship with God is so important. And as always, like I said, identifying with God and not identifying with all these things around us, because as many of you know, like when sin is introduced into the world, it separated us from God. And so what happened in that moment is that we became broken. Humans are broken. And so now we are longing for something to fill that hole within us. And we look for so many different things to fill it, whether it's ambition or it's, work, or it's a person, or it's alcohol, drugs, whatever. Like, we look for so many things to fill that hole within us. And so it's so important to not only be aware that you are broken, but also to seek God's love, because that's the only thing that can fill that hole that we have within us. And I know some of y'all may think like, oh, I know people that are well established and they got money and they're successful and things like that, and they don't go to church every Sunday or whatever, or they're not really that strong in the faith and they seem fine, but deep down inside, they know they're struggling with something. Like, they're all struggling with something internally. And like I said, you just have to want to be aware of that, and to not think that sin is just, I went against the 10 Commandments. Sin is so much more than that. Sin is just this idea of, sin can be good and bad. And that was a good thing that this book mentioned, that sin is, it's like, again, it's anything that separates you from God, but anything that you even put above God. So like, it can be good things that we make like our ultimate. Like me, okay, I've been striving my whole life to be a doctor. Whenever I was putting that above God, like whenever I was putting that whole ordeal of, I'm going to be a doctor, that's all I care about, that's all that matters, I was in essence making that my God. Like, that became my God. And that's so hard to, separate yourself from that. Like, how can I say that, oh, like, this is something I'm supposed to be? Like, it makes sense for me to want to put that above and to strive for it. That's my goal. But in a sense, it's no longer a goal, it's your God. And so really, like I said, going through this master's program that I've had to go through has truly humbled me and made me realize that me being a doctor, it was in my will. God put that in my will, to be a doctor, to be a physician. That's fine. And he's doing that to serve his people. So it's not just, oh yeah, I was just born with this, this desire to want to serve people. No, God put that in my will so that I can serve his people. And so it's important to remember that he gave us everything that we have. He continues to give us everything that we have. Nothing we have we made on our own or got on our own and anything like that. And so knowing that helps you to identify yourself with God, and knowing that, okay, I know that I am a child of God. I know that he saved me with his grace. There's nothing I could do to ever save myself. He already saved me. So I choose to obey him because he already saved me. He died on the cross for our sins. And so now I want to respect him because he did that for me. And so remembering that and really formulating your identity in God and stuff like that allows you to feel that brokenness that you have inside you, whether or not you want to recognize it or not. It is tough to come to that realization, like I said, because it's just like, battling with an addiction or something like that, like trying to realizing that what you're trying to do to fulfill that hole within you, or to make what makes you feel like you have an identity, it's a struggle. It's a struggle to deal with, because it is what makes you you. It's what you decided is what makes you you. Whether it's hearing what other people say as to them justifying your behaviors, or like I said, being a hard worker, people knowing you as a hard worker, and it's the reason why it's bad, and the reason why you shouldn't make that your identity and make your identity in God is because, one, God is perfect. Like, God can't mess up. He can never like make you feel like a failure, like, because he's always there. Versus if you were to get a bad grade, or you were to end up, like a drug addict or something like that, like, now you failed yourself. Like, now you no longer have that sense of identity anymore. You're broken. And so that's why it's so important to have something like that so solid. Like, God is so solid, he will never break, shake, move, nothing. Having that as your identity, instead of having your identity be all of these other things, is so you won't continue to long for something that will never fill you up, and so you won't feel like you are no longer anything, like you're no longer worth anything. You lose your worth the moment that any of those things fall through. Same with falling in love with somebody and using that person as making that person your all, as people say, oh, this is my all, and they complete me. The moment they mess up, the moment you realize that, oh, this is really not it, oh, this is really not the person that I thought was supposed to be the one, and that has nothing to do with that. It's just that person can't be your all. That person can't fill you the way that God his love fills you. They can never do that, because we're all broken, so we're all seeking something. We're all longing for the same love. We're all longing for his love, and so you can't expect someone else, a broken person, to complete you when they're not even complete themselves. And so that's so important. And I know I kind of went all over the place just now, but that whole idea of that sense of identity in God, and just having that longing to feel have his love fill you, is just it's so good. And it's something I am working on myself, continuing to. I do not have it all together. I am working to have that his love fill me up. And I love that I heard this from one of the pastors before, that I desire to have my heart so like lost in God, like so hidden in God, that a man will have to find God just to reach me. And I think that's just so astounding. Like, it's so important for me, and that's what I'm striving to find now. And I'm gonna talk about that in a further vlog, but that's all. I'm gonna put that little tidbit right there. But my little sister told me to make sure that I say that, comment below about anything you feel like you realizing that you identify with something different other than God, and wondering, like, how do I get better at this? How do I let him take control and stop trying to find my identity in other things, or any other thing you want to comment about. Subscribe to the channel if you like these videos, as well as share it with other people that you feel it will really help out. Okay, y'all.